Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for Scream 6. Christ, 6 films of Scream. What a what a journey we've been on. And this film is a direct sequel to Scream, which was sort of like a proto requel, as they call it, for the franchise. Where, spoiler alert, we lost Dewey in that one after he survived so many bloody stabbings. He finally got killed in the last one. So this is a sequel to that. It stars, obviously, Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, I think it is. And Courtney Cox returns as well. There's no Neve Campbell in this. There was a big to-do. She's not in it. She's referenced as... hilariously in this, when it all kicks off, Courtney Cox goes, "Oh, I spoke to Sydney. She's fucked off somewhere with her partner and her kids. Yeah, it's fine." Oh, that never helped Sydney before, but sure, we'll believe it this time, because we know they weren't going to pay her enough, so that's why she's not in the film. But yeah, anyway, so Scream 6, it's set in New York. So we've gone away completely. Of course, we've disappeared from Woodsboro before. We've been to LA. We've been to the university in the second film all those many years ago. So it's not the first time we've come away from Woodsboro, despite what a lot of sort of people reference to. But yeah, New York, a very claustrophobic environment, a very intense environment. The city never sleeps. So it was interesting to see where this would go. And what we get as a result... Oh, just nearly dropped the camera. What we get as a result is a extremely violent Ghostface. Obviously, Ghostface has always been violent, but in this particular entry in the franchise, it is a franchise now. We are getting Scream 7. Christ. I love it. So in this particular entry, he is hyper-violent. He's everywhere all the time, and he does create absolute chaos. The only thing I will say about this film is that there are no real out-and-out surprises. Despite the entertaining nature of everything, the killings in this film are, superb. We see some creative choices by Ghostface. We see some truly horrific moments. There is a lot of decent character work here. We are really focusing on sort of how people are reacting and dealing with the stresses that they experienced in the previous entry. Similar to what Sydney went through in Scream 2. We're seeing a lot of work around that with the 4 central characters. They call themselves what do they call themselves? Something 4. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of work around developing the into sort of character relationships in this entry. And Ghostface does his best to absolutely destroy that. But there are no real out-and-out surprises. And I wonder if that's a lot to do with, not having sort of Neve Campbell around. They couldn't really do much in terms of risking the other characters. It's a difficult one, because obviously there was a huge shock in the last one where Dewey does get killed. A lot of people saw it coming, though. And in this, we don't really have anything that matches that sort of, shock factor, or even sort of like emotional impact. Really, it's quite strange. Everyone is on the chopping board in this film, and yet, oddly enough, despite the absolute level that everyone goes through in terms of being attacked by Ghostface, surprisingly, there are a lot of survivors. I've not done a tally on how many people get executed by Ghostface, but I do wonder whether this ranks as highly as others. It certainly seems that on sort of thinking about it in hindsight, that in actual fact, a lot of people come unscathed from this. I'm not going to dive into spoilers or anything like that. But yeah, it's bizarre. But I think obviously they want to keep everything going for the next film. And I can understand, really, the central cast is very strong. Obviously, it's led by Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera. They are very strong. We do have a continuation, especially with Melissa Barrera, in terms of dealing with Billy Loomis as her father. That's an interesting angle. I do really like that angle. I did in the previous entry, and I'm interested to see where it goes in the next one as well, because there are flecks of darkness coming through from her that I really, really got on board with. I think it's an interesting dynamic to have, the idea that your protagonist is also on the verge of being an absolute serial killer herself, and they play with that in this film. They really do play with that in this film. The setup is, it's a little bit paint by numbers. Ghostface is showcasing previous killers' masks. He's leaving them at the scenes of everyone he does in. And truth be told, exactly 45 minutes into this film, when a character was introduced, well, probably a little bit before that, I think, I immediately turned to my missus and went, "That's the killer." Lo and behold, I was absolutely right. My missus guessed another character, but yeah, it's a little bit obvious who the killer is. Chalk it up to, I would say, experience with the other films, but I've always viewed the other films, as weirdly as light-hearted entertainment. I don't know why. What does that say about me? We'll move on very quickly. But aside from that, it is still a very entertaining film. I would argue there's not really a massive sort of tension level or threat level. I didn't really feel any sort of massive elements of tension apart from the subway scene. So that in the trailer we do see a scene where there are multiple Ghostface people dressed up for Halloween. This is set at Halloween, weirdly enough. And yes, there are some really great moments with lighting in this scene. So I did get a sense of tension there, I did get a sense of threat there, but elsewhere in the film I was just waiting for things to happen rather than being sort of feeling tense, rather than anticipating something scary happening. Nothing really jumpy happens in this film. It doesn't really play with a lot of the corners that you would expect. New York City is dark and can be full of, dark corners. We've seen that in other films before, and we don't really play with that too well, apart from in the subway. And there are some, clever things that happen in the subway scene, with the lighting, with the dynamics of being completely trapped underground. It's very cool. The cast is just superb as always. It's really well shot, really well directed. And the meta's got a bit ridiculous. I don't think it works anymore. In this film, I don't think it worked very well at all. It didn't really. It started off with a certain idea of what it was going to do, and then lost its way completely. Which part of the plan. These films, what's great about the Scream films is that they play on each other, they play on other horror movies, they play on other slashers, and perhaps that was their objective here, was just to play on, what they set up in the beginning and do away with it entirely. Does it feel a little bit generic at times? Yes, it does. But what I think wins this film is the setting, is the change in pace, the ferocity of Ghostface, and obviously the ending is always entertaining when the reveals are made. It's always entertaining. It always makes me laugh. I don't take these films very seriously at all, which is probably why I enjoy them so much. I do enjoy them for what they are, which is just absolute ridiculousness. It's insanely gory, it's insanely violent, and at the end of the day, if you watch the Scream films because you enjoy the absolute chaos that unfurls on screen, then you will enjoy this film. You really will enjoy this film. What's interesting for me is trying to sort of separate the two films, separate the last film from this one. I don't judge it based on the originals, or even Scream 4, which is weirdly in the middle. We do get a presence from a character in Scream 4 as well, which is good. So there are connecting tissues before Ghostface removes them. So yeah, I think with this one, it's difficult for me. I've been thinking about it over the last couple of days, and I think I'm going to settle on an 8 out of 10 for this. It is very fun. I did really enjoy spending time with Ghostface yet again. He is probably one of my favourite sort of horror movie characters in terms of, you know, the ridiculousness of it. Although we didn't see enough bumbling. I always enjoy when Ghostface bumbles around and trips over things. We don't see enough of that anymore. He's become ultra serious. I need some comedy from Ghostface. I need him to fall over a lampshade or something like that, or trip over a couch, or, you know, somebody to hurl a bike at him and trap him on the stairs for 30 seconds for no reason whatsoever. I need some of that alongside the ferocity. But yes, it'll be interesting to see where they go with Scream 7. Do they stay in New York? Do they return to Woodsboro for a massive Scream-off finale? Will Sydney return? Who knows? We don't really miss her in this film, I have to say. We don't really miss her in this film, but what we do miss is, you know, the idea that she is on the chopping block. I think this film could have been that. It could have been, is this where Sydney ends? But the thing is, they've set her up with a family now, and we don't want her to get killed off, do we? So yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm eager to see where they go, what they do with it. But this was a fun movie for what it was. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing revolutionary, you know, like we had in the first Scream, like we had with the previous entry from 2 years ago. Nothing groundbreaking, but very fun nonetheless. So, solid 8 out of 10. I'd recommend seeing it if you do enjoy this franchise, if you do enjoy horror, as it is. Yeah, there we go, 8 out of 10. So, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. I have been doing a lot more not quite one paragraph reviews for older movies that I've been struggling to get ahead of and watch in order to do a full review such as this. But yeah, check them out as well. Again, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this. It's going well. I'm enjoying myself again. So yeah, bye-bye.